Oh, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special Saturday edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. And you probably know what that means at this point. Not to take away anyone's memes here, but still, Saturday, Mr. Warren Hayes usually means we've got a pay-per-view coming up. Pay-per-view weekend at the tips of our fingers, right where we are right here. And it's AEW Double or Nothing that's happening tomorrow, Sunday, May 30. I was like, wait. Yeah, I powered through it. That's all that matters. But yeah, that's what AEW Double or Nothing 2021. It's a big show. It's a big card. So that's when you get the big guests. But I had to settle for John from Wrestling Plug. Yes, I'm very proud of myself right now. No, well, we're good to go. I mean, look, the hydration thing is always important. Look, if folks, as you know, John mentioned, hydration very, very important. 8 ounces of water, 8 times a day will have you covered. You'll avoid, getting drowsy, dizzy, feeling sick, having a darkened urine. No one wants that. And you see myself. See, I'm already halfway through another 8-ounce glass of water here, and I have another. I have refills at the ready. Like, I'm completely set. But we're not here to talk about hydration, right? We're not here to talk about we're not here to talk about hydration necessarily. No. We're here to talk about AEW. But I knew I could pull off that joke with John.
Yes,
because he's a good guy.
The
John,
fact
of course.
That you call me John, by the way, still it's weird because I'm used to hearing Pluggo.
Pluggo. That's right.
How you doing?
But I figured here, I did, because the Pluggo thing is, it's amongst us, right? It's it's a Discord thing. So here I wanted to give you the proper props here, and and just in case, I'm talking about you, just in case there's people who don't know exactly what you're up to and who you are, John. Why don't you tell us about yourself and what you do? Well, mostly what you do as far as wrestling goes.
Well, that's it depends on the day, I guess. I'm John Pluggo, Johnny Podcast for Metal Mike, if he's listening. I got a few names in the game. You can find me at Wrestling Plug on Twitter, Wrestling Plug Inc. on Facebook, Instagram. Just doing my brand of what I like to do in wrestling and just whatever comes to my head that day. And I've been contributing at Love Wrestling CA on Twitter. I got a show Between Two Beards, 8:30 on Thursday nights, which I know is Warren's time, but when you get a guy as good as JPJ, you can't say no to anything that guy wants to do. We bring our brand of comedy.
He's also very intimidating.
JPJ?
Mm-hmm.
That beard is intense. So, yeah, he hits me up. He goes, "We got to do something." And I was like, "Yes, sir." Let's make it happen. And we both have beards, and we talk about whatever. We had you on this past Thursday to talk about proper hydration. Which
is essential.
So that's what you can see me doing every once in a while. Like, throw a podcast out there into the world. I really don't have a rhyme or reason. We just at Wrestling Plug Inc. Myself that love wrestling. I just do whatever. I'm a wrestling fan, and that's it. That is what it is. That's why we're here.
That is why we're here. Indeed. And I appreciate you taking the time to be with me today, John. It's very, very much appreciated. It's a good time. And there are a lot of people at the same time who are happy to see you, such as WrestleMania, by the way, who became a right here and now a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show YouTube channel. Thank you very much. He also added that today's show was called Between One Beard. So I don't know, you can't be between one, maybe next to a beard.
Beard adjacent
to a beard.
Adjacent to a beard. You got to get that beard game.
Well, here's the thing: is I have a very I have a scruff more than anything else, but I can't grow a beard. I literally cannot. I've tried. My dream, John, is to have mutton chops. Okay.
There you go.
But I can't. It doesn't grow out. A goatee though, that's not a problem. Like I get really, really dark, the mustache and the chin area, but everywhere else it's very, very clear. And that's just my curse, man. I can't grow a proper proper Grizzly Adams. I just can't.
I don't facial hair shame. If you're at least putting forth the effort, you're welcome at the Between Two Beards Studios. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That is why we haven't had Spencer Love on yet, because that guy can't grow a beard to save his life. Babyface Spencer over there, he'd throw off the whole dynamic.
I mean, Spencer's 15, so you got to give him time to, let puberty kick in, and all of that. Just give him some space. Give him some time,
All right, we'll let it slide because he's so young and just his whole life is ahead of him. I'm at the back end, if you will. I've got a beard. He's still got things that he can accomplish. So it is exactly.
The world is his oyster
right
now at the ripe in his ripe young teens.
And I guess mine has already been shucked, as they say.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy. But thanks so much for being here, John, and thank you everyone who are joining us live right now on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Really appreciate it. Like I said, WrestleMania became a member, and we even had a little chat with the members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show before coming live, so that was a lot of fun. I was trying that out for a first time. Part of the perks if you want to get those in. But I want to say hello to those who are here, like Pete Davies over in the UK. How you doing, Pete? Nice to see you. Jay Kearns from Armbar Audio. I joined them on there. On their own prediction show earlier this week. Cool guys. Like those guys a lot. Subscribe to their channel. We've got Thomas Goris, who's here as well. Good to see you. DGMC, Aaron Entertainment, Flowman, and we've got Stina Bauer, who's asking you to take off your shirt.
That's what I bring the fans, Warren.
Well, you're now. Hang on a second. I don't want to break TOS here.
This is a family show.
That's not a question of family show. I don't want to be kicked off of YouTube.
Hey, the viewership would skyrocket.
Look,
listen. All I know is what I learned last night on Dynamite is that I'm going to win these predictions because I'm bigger than you.
All right, good. Okay.
The QT logic says I get this going, this big old gut. I'm bigger than you, shirtless. I'd win. That's just what we're doing. We're having a weigh-in. They can have a weigh-in on Dynamite. We can have a weigh-in here.
Listen, it's either or, right? It's you take off your shirt and people get really excited, or I get kicked off. If we were in a hot tub, though, John, it'd be a whole different story. I think then we could stream with our shirts off, no issues, right?
Warren and John, hot tub predictions. Hey.
Staying hydrated in the hot tub?
That's right. Let's go. How you all doing tonight? Welcome to the Warren Hayes Prediction Show.
Thank you so much, though, for the suggestion,
that
Stina
is my
Bauer.
Lovely wife. She is the first lady of Wrestling Plug Inc., and she is super supportive. And that is her way. She wants to see me shirtless. What can I say? She's, a lucky lady. That's all I'm going to say.
And she also adds that bro tubbin. She's here for it. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm getting a good picture of what she's into. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
You're looking at it, sir. This is what she's into. Oh.
Well, John, let's start talking about. We've been talking about just about anything except pro wrestling, really.
That's what we do.
That's pretty much it.
Good night, everybody.
The stream's over. Double or Nothing happening tomorrow. The big AEW pay-per-view. Tony Khan going out and saying that he wants Double or Nothing to be like their big pay-per-view. He wants that to be the big event. And he's promising surprises and whatnot. But, this is the next pay-per-view that we've had since Revolution, which was in February. A fantastic, it was a good pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was a great pay-per-view up to the last minute and a half. Yeah.
That thing. But since then we've taken off, there's been different stories, different matches. Tell me, John, how do you feel about the build to Double or Nothing so far?
I've enjoyed the build. I think AEW is really good at building these pay-per-views up into be a big deal. Because I mean, they only get the 4 a year, so they've got to make us want it. And the whole it's $50 thing, that whole thing, it's $50. So you've got to build it, and you've got to make those people want to spend that money, and they're doing that. And I can't wait. I think Double or Nothing. I know there's only 4, but I think it's up there in terms of like it's 1A to All Out for me.
Sure.
I don't think the other two even come close in terms of big builds.
And it's wild because, I would say, as it stands right now, like last year, in the year of our Lord 2020, may it go down in infamy, I would say that All Out was my least favorite AEW pay-per-view. Not saying it was bad, but we got Revolution, which was absolutely fantastic, and Full Gear that year as well was just a blast. I don't know, it's interesting because I think in the minds of a lot of fans, All Out is AEW's WrestleMania, if you pardon the comparison, right?
Right.
But you have Tony Khan coming out and saying, no, this is the new era, and I want Double or Nothing to be the big one, the exciting one, so on and so forth, and I'm gonna do what I can to make it great. And I said, okay, I mean, he can pick whatever pay-per-view he wants,
doesn't he? He loves to just. I mean, he's a promoter, right?
Right.
That's his job, but he loves to make these things like. And then, of course, you see the duds and the fireworks. But I still, again, the pay-per-views are really good. It's hard to say like, oh, All Out was terrible because it's not, but it is.
Oh no!
If you rank it fourth, you could rank them however you want, and I don't think anybody's wrong, right? Because each one has its really good moments and could stand on its own. So,
and here's the thing: this is what's really in it, because we just talked on it, on Tony Khan being the promoter, like, and acting like a promoter. It's like the tweet, the video that he put out yesterday before Dynamite, calling out Nick Khan, just being this town's not big enough for 2 Khans, the Khan man, and I'm dying, I'm like, this is fantastic, I think it's great. People getting mad, of course people get mad but I think as far as mainstream goes, we've forgotten what a wrestling promoter does, what he acts like, what he should be doing, because Vince doesn't consider himself a promoter anymore. So, and he doesn't even consider his show to be wrestling, it's sports entertainment. So for the past 20 years, all we've been exposed to is WWE and their way of doing things. And then you've got Tony Khan hitting the social media going, calling out Nick Khan, which is the most ridiculously absurd thing. And people going nuts about it. But at the same time, I'm going in a real roundabout way here. He did mention, I've got new signees. This is a new era for AEW. We're going back on the road, live crowd. And I have some new signees coming up. And I noticed that he's dialing back a little the new signee thing, because the last time he did it was with Christian Cage, who came out, which, because he was putting it over big time. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. It's like, this is huge. And Christian Cage comes out, and in the minds of a lot of people, Christian Cage, maybe a lot of people were expecting CM Punk, which is fair, because the way he was putting it over, it was like, this is the biggest signing ever. Christian Cage comes out. I love Christian, don't get me wrong, but I myself was kind of like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But so don't you, I find like, despite the fact that he's rah, my promotion rules like a promoter should do, I feel like he's also dialing it back a little bit.
Yeah. And I think he, like you said, in a way is probably he's learning on the job. I know a lot of people, trash AEW for a lot of things, but they are in a lot of ways still young and in their infancy. I can't speak. Whatever.
Infancy.
They're little. They're still little.
They're little babies.
They're babies still. But, and that is his job, and it gets us excited. But yes, when you say it's the greatest signee ever, and it turns out to be like Paul White or Christian Cage, you learn like, okay, that's great, fantastic, but is that a game changer like you just promoted, or barbed wire exploding death match?
Oh, there you go.
And then you learn to like sell yourself in a different way, right? You don't want to act like you're the greatest thing since sliced bread and then disappoint the fans, because in this day and age, I mean, we're a tweet away from going, yep, that sucked.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I will maintain to the very end, okay, that the explosion thing wouldn't have been so bad if Eddie Kingston hadn't run out to cover John.
Oh, absolutely. But
we'd be much more forgiving of it.
If it didn't happen, we won't get what we're going to talk about later.
True. Oh, absolutely. No, I don't. Sure. But
we'll
the thing, when you do see it, and anyway.
Yeah, we digress.
Yeah, and we've talked. I'm sure we've exhausted everything that needs to be said about the exploding barbed wire death match.
But this is what happens when John and Warren get together. Things just go.
Things just go.
We're here for one thing, but we're going to talk about everything else.
Absolutely. Joe Poulin is here. How you doing, JPJ? I was asking myself this on my main stream last Thursday, because he did pop on, and I always say hello to people when they arrive. And how does he pronounce his last name?
I just call him JPJ.
Oh, so you don't know either? Because
I don't want to butcher it, but yeah, I just call him JPJ.
Because I'm wondering if it's Poulin or if it's more like, because I live in the French part of Canada, right? So I have it. Poulin is a French last name, so I just go Poulin. I'd call him Joe Poulin, from around here.
Well, but he's from the Boston area, yeah, so
which makes sense. So it could be Poulin.
I just call him the greatest co-host in wrestling history.
I'll call JPJ. I think I'll keep it at that.
The greatest beard.
He does. It's Poulin, no French accent. He says.
Okay. See, we learned something new today. And that's what this is all about, learning.
Life is a constant learning experience, such as learning to keep yourself well hydrated during these summer days that are getting longer, warmer. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's get right to it. AEW Double or Nothing. We've got a buy-in match on the pre-show. First and foremost, Serena Deeb, NWA Women's Champion, will be defending her title against Riho. Second time that these two meet. Riho defeated Serena Deeb in the women's tournament a couple of months ago. Serena Deeb was out of action with an injury for a few months. Came back last Wednesday, not this past Wednesday before, in a match against Red Velvet that absolutely killed. Serena Deeb looks great. How do you feel about this match, John?
I feel great. I feel wonderful. No, Serena Deeb is money. She could wrestle a broomstick and I'd watch. And
she'd kill the business, but sure.
Yeah, sure. But that's okay. When you're that good, you can kill whatever you want. But I wish there was a little bit more build to this. I know she was out with injury. Riho's kind of getting thrown back into I haven't seen her on TV in a while, but it's a nice change of pace to have her back. And the NWA women's title, the only issue I've had with it is I never see her defended on NWA.
Hey, the NWA has a pay-per-view next weekend, and they haven't announced the match.
No, but no, this is gonna be a good little buy-in match. I mean, we're gonna split hairs here and this should put a second women's match on your main card. It's not a problem, especially when they're two talented women such as Riho and Serena Deeb. That's my only qualm, but I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be good for what it is.
You can also make the argument that you yes, on one end you have your women you have your women on the pre-show, but the pre-show is free. Technically, it's the thing that's supposed to get you excited, that you're going to be like, oh, look at this great match. I mean, maybe I should buy the pay-per-view. Like, there's always that part of it too, so, from what I understand at the same time is that, when you do the pre-show, you don't get the same kind of money as when you do the main show too. So, there's a whole, but yes, it's a whole other discussion, a whole other argument that I've had multiple times in the past, and maybe I don't,
I'm hoping to get a rant or two out of you today.
Maybe not on this one, but I will say this. Look, Serena Deeb is probably the best wrestler that AEW has on their roster right now. Maybe Britt is the complete package, entertaining. She's very strong in the ring. She has her heel work down, her character's down pat. But I don't think there's anyone on the roster that meets Serena Deeb right now. I think she's absolutely fantastic, and I'm excited for her to get into I was going to say a proper title picture, but she's the NWA. But as far as AEW goes, put her up in the big matches. She is so good. And this match with Riho, I especially if Deeb is as aggressive as she was on her match 2 Wednesdays ago against Riho, this is gonna be outstanding. I'm super, it's rare that I'm super looking forward to a pre-show match, but I really am in this case.
Yeah, I think we're undervaluing her behind the scenes too. I mean, that women's division has risen in the last year or so, and I think a lot of that is attributed to her. I'm sure she's working with those women and getting them ready. And that Red Velvet match, banger, and so good. Can
we take a moment? I know she's not on the card. Bloody goddamn shame. But can we take a moment to just have a Red Velvet appreciation moment?
I'll drink to that.
I think the woman is fantastic. I think right now she is proven to be AEW's biggest commodity. Because if you just think about her past couple of months, she gets thrown into the mixed match tag team thing with Jade Cargill, Shaq, and Cody. Big time media match for AEW, right? And she gets thrown in there because Brandy's pregnant, and then she gets another match with Jade Cargill where her job is get Cargill over, make her look good, and she does. And then she gets another match with Deeb, and she delivers there as well. Looks good in the process, but helps Serena Deeb look like a million. Red Velvet right now is probably is one of the cornerstones of that division. She's someone that AEW has confidence in. She's like, hey, we need you in this big match. Boop, there you go. And she delivers.
That's
and she
right.
stirs.
And she stirs that pot.
Yes.
Heck yeah. It's a big, bright future for her. I predict a championship run at some point.
Oh, for sure. Oh, she's too valuable.
Yes, absolutely.
So, first prediction of the show. Chat, let us know who you think is going to win this match here. Do you think Riho is going to retain? Or do you think Serena... what? No. Is Riho going to win the title? Is Serena Deeb going to retain? Let us know. But as far as you go, John, what is your prediction?
I think Deeb retains easy. I think she's got some loose ends to tie up over in the NWA scene, so I think they're going to go that route.
I mean, I see a lot of people, going on Twitter and saying, "Oh, well, they're not announcing the women's match for the NWA pay-per-view because it could be Riho, it could be Serena Deeb," and I think they're giving NWA too much credit. I mean, what are the odds that Riho would show up on an NWA match? I don't think so.
I mean, let's be real honest here. I think it's slim to absolutely none. She doesn't show up a lot on Dynamite, and she was their first women's champion. So I don't know if they're gonna. I honestly, I don't know if Riho really fits the NWA thing right now. Right?
True, that's a good point.
It's a kind of a square peg in a round hole, and so yeah, Deeb gets it done, heads on over to the pay-per-view, and probably I don't know who she takes on because they had it, and let's move on.
That's a whole other thing.
Fired up, and I don't want to do that.
But I agree. I think Serena Deeb is going to retain. A lot of people in the chat as well are saying Deeb. So there you go. Serena Deeb is going to hang on to her title in the pre-show. Let's talk about the Casino Battle Royal if you want, if you feel. We know how this works. Are we still doing the suits? You know, are they still doing that?
Yeah, I think it's still the 5 come out at a time, and then the Joker at the end.
Our participants: Christian Cage, Matt Sydal, Will Hobbs. I can't call him Powerhouse. It's too corny. I can't get behind it. Penta, Jungle Boy, Matt Hardy, Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, the Matt Hardy House Squad, whatever he calls it. The Blade, no Butcher, which is a shame, but the Blade is going to be there. Evil Uno, Colt Cabana, Preston Vance, 10. Griff Garrison, whoever that guy is. Brian Pillman Jr., Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, Dustin Rhodes, and Lee Johnson, and the Joker card, of course. So we're, I'm
just kidding.
Before
every time.
Yeah, exactly, right? Every time there's like a secret entrant. So what do we do? So let's start by doing. I'm not asking what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to start by talking about who's going to win this. Who do you think is going to win? And then we'll talk about the Joker. Unless you think the Joker might be the guy who's going to win.
I have zero idea who the Joker is this time around. Usually I have some kind of like,
okay,
maybe it's that, but I'm actually completely blind because I don't know who's left for them to sign.
Well, listen, let's start with the winner of the Battle Royal. Who do you think is going to be the person who's going to get a shot at the AEW World Championship?
I mean, if I'm a betting man, is it Chris? It's got to be Christian Cage, right?
Yeah,
He's Tony Khan's favorite wrestler. It gives you that opportunity to put Christian Cage in a title picture with Omega without having him work a bunch of matches to get there, which is always
that's a good point.
Which is always the beef with the new, like the ex-WWE guys. Is, they get title shots right away. Don't the rankings matter? Well, this is your opportunity. And of course, everybody would be like, I knew that was going to happen. I'll be shocked if it's somebody else because all the people you've mentioned have little beefs within that group. And I know Hobbs and Cage have beef too, but I think everybody's kind of eliminate themselves. We'll see Christian Cage, Hobbs, and I think he'll get it done just to piss off Taz because a pissed off Taz is a great Taz.
Taz with a chip on his shoulder is the only Taz we ever want.
My favorite AEW trope is every time a Taz guy loses, you got lucky. Oh, come on. Like every time, you got so lucky. You're lucky I'm not in that ring. Calm down, Taz. Your boys just aren't getting it done.
I fucking love him. He's so good. He's so good. So I'm in agreement. And Chad, I'd like you to let us know who you think is going to win here. Look, Christian Cage is he's a former WWE guy. God, I am so sick of that. It bores me to tears at this point.
God forbid he gets a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Shame on him. Shame on him for working. What? Can we say the F word?
We can say all the words.
What the fuck?
Right.
Christian Cage, how dare you go out and get a job in your field?
How dare you be so talented that you can continue to work up in that age bracket and work strong matches? Fuck you, Christian Cage.
You're terrible. God.
So here's
an AEW for fuck you for even thinking he's got talent. He was in the WWE. He's got nothing left. What are you doing? Sorry.
So that echoes some of my sentiments for sure. But the thing here that I really like about Christian Cage, his gimmick, his thing, since he's come in, right, is I want a title, and I'm gonna work for it, and that's what he's been doing.
Yeah,
you can't. It's not like to a degree I can understand where people might be a little annoyed where WWE guy comes in and he gets pushed to a title opportunity. They did the same with John Huber. They did the same with Brody Lee. They did the same with Moxley. And it's like, all these outside guys come in and they get so. But Cage was like, no, I'm gonna work my way, and he's been working. That's what he's been doing. So he wants to earn a shot. I can get behind that. So and at some point, you have to shake off that stigma, right? That thing where it's like, oh, he's a former WWE guy. At what point does it become acceptable to call him an AEW guy? Because that's where he's working now, right? And at the same time, like, I remember a time where people would just be moving from territory to territory, and it wasn't like, oh, he's a Mid-South guy where maybe he'd wrestle there a lot, but he'd wrestle elsewhere. So like, they're supposed to be independent contractors. Let's just keep that in mind. They're supposed to be independent contractors. They can work wherever the hell they want, right? Anyway, I'm getting off. But I think Christian Cage is definitely the favorite. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Jungle Boy, because whoever wins here this is how I perceive it, and I'd like to know what you think, John. I think whoever wins here is just going to be a transitional defense for Kenny, like on, a weekly Dynamite Super Show that they occasionally do. Like, the next one will probably be Fyter Fest if we're following their routine, So that's what I think. I think before we get to All Out, the next big pay-per-view with the next big challenger, they're going to give Kenny a strong competitive match against someone who won't take the title off him, but will still give a good match. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't want it to be Jungle Boy then, because they do that to him, right?
But that's his role. That's what he's been doing.
I know, but it's one of those things where it's like, then this guy is incredible, and that match would be amazing, but it's another Jungle Boy L in a big spot, and you're just like, oh, come on, just let him get over that hump.
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't hate it. I would be all for it. I'd watch it. It'd be exciting. Jungle Boy is amazing, and I think him and Omega would have some good chemistry. I want to see it, but I don't want it to happen to him.
But I'm behind.
But Christian Cage loses, though. He's still Christian Cage, right? So he can take that L, and it's whatever.
And I still think Jungle Boy, despite the fact that I've been saying for months now that, at some point you need to have Jungle Boy and Jurassic Express start winning matches, outright winning matches, because no one wants to back a loser, No.
No. I mean, I love Heath Slater. He's a loser.
A lovable one at that.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But I think we're pretty much in agreement that our first picks is Christian Cage. I think that's the one that makes the most sense. Now, as for the Joker, the TBA, you said it at the start. You have no idea who it might be.
I don't. I mean, usually I'm like, I have a kind of an idea. Like, the Christian Cage thing wasn't out of the realm of possibilities for the major signing, but I'm sitting there like, well, who's out there that's going to, like,
well, look, okay,
make a big splash here and kind of it could be somebody that they already have in house. Maybe a return.
Let's start with that. Let's start with, because it's happened before, right? Hangman Page has been a Joker, so everyone is expecting someone from the outside, but it could be someone in house. By the way, hello, Evan Wright. Welcome to the chat. So it could absolutely be someone from inside. Who though?
I'm trying to think.
Frankie Kazarian?
Frankie, is he available?
He's not. He's not doing anything.
Christopher Daniels, is he healed up?
Technically, he's retired. Like, he's retired.
But that would be one of those wrestling tropes where it's like, I'm gonna come back for this.
Ray Phoenix, he showed up at Dynamite last night. He's not injured anymore, or at least he did a run in.
Yeah, I'd love to see Ray. I love to see Ray Phoenix.
And The big one is that everyone is saying, because they're pushing the fact that Paul White is going to be there. Paul White to do commentary. Paul White. Do you think he might just step up from the table and walk over and toss some fools over?
The JBL, as I like to call it, in the suit. Sure, he could do that. I hope if he does that, maybe he clears like half the house. Just they're paying him enough to be there.
That's for sure.
Well get him in the ring and let him do his thing. It's this one, but I like that. I like that it's up in the air, and that my Mark fan side of it is not clicking on this one. Like, I'm excited to see who it's going to be.
Just regardless. Sure, that's fair.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, to me, I find that at this time in history right now, I think it's the most fascinating, it's the most exciting TBA that we've had in a while, because Forbidden Door, right? Blah, blah, blah. So you can get just about anyone from New Japan popping in. I've seen everyone from Satoshi Kojima, who is actually in Impact right now, doing some stuff there, to fucking Jay White, because Jay White is coming to the United States. He's scheduled in a couple of weeks to do an appearance at a convention. So right there, that's really interesting. Then you have free agents. You have guys like Andrade, who isn't working for the other guys anymore. Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, depending on what side of the fence you fall on.
I said that on Thursday on my show. I think that would be, even if he goes back to the WWE, just let him do it, and the buzz it would create would be massive.
The thing, I'm telling you, like you said, even if it's the one time, if Daniel Bryan shows up at an AEW show, I personally think it's not going to happen. That's just me. But if he does, and I eat crow on it, and I will gladly eat crow, because it will create the biggest wrestling thing to happen since AEW was announced. Bar none, because then WWE will have let go of one of its biggest stars, a guy who is still enamored, whose fans are still enamored with from his indie work. It'd be one of their severest blunders. I'm not gonna lie.
But it would be like the summer of Bryan, right? He goes to AEW, does a little there, goes on the indies, does a little there. And then if he ever said, hey, Vince, I want to come back, Vince is not going to say no.
That's the dream. But that's honestly, that's the dream. But I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty damn sure he's re-signing with WWE. That's my feeling. But you know who I think is my call? And a lot of people in the chat have been saying it. Nick Gage. I think Nick Gage is a wrestler to come in as a TBA for this, like a one shot. I'm not saying he's signed, just as a one shot. I think it'd make a lot of sense, because he's hot. He's super hot right now, thanks to the doc. He's got the thing with John Moxley going, right? Like, Nick Gage has the connections to get into AEW with Mox, with Janela. He knows who to talk to get in. And Tony Khan has proven on multiple occasions that he has his finger on the pulse of the wrestling fan. So just bear with me for a second here. He's the AEW. If you are of the opinion, like I am, that the AEW audience is more aware of what happens on the independent circuit than the WWE crowds are,
I'd agree there.
He comes out to a packed arena, first live show in a while. People are already on fucking pins and needles because they're excited to cheer for their faves. MDK, man, comes out. Place just, the roof gets blown off. And it'd be a nice thing, especially when, like, you'd get the pop, you'd get the guy, and then you'd get that whole part of the story that they were telling within the Dark Side of the Ring doc, where it's like he's on a redemption arc. He's trying to better himself. He's trying to stay on top of things. that would be a nice thing for him on top of just having Nick Gage pop up as a surprise on your pay-per-view. I think it'd be wild.
Yeah, and it'd be big enough where we're not let down, so to speak, right? You're like, oh, wow, Nick Gage, great. That's crazy. Instead of like, oh, you said it was going to be the greatest thing ever. And we're like, oh, it was Nick Gage, right?
Or it was like Gangrel, which would still be cool, but not on the same level, you know?
Covers Matt Sydal in blood and leaves. Like,
it's just like...
I would pop for that. I'd be like... Last time I saw Gangrel wrestle on just a random MLW a few years ago, I was like, he's still going? Like,
no, he pops up once in a while. He shows up. He was on a GCW show, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Evan. I appreciate it. He says, if I hear Final Countdown, Warren, I will lose it. Because that was Bryan Danielson's theme on the indies. So yeah. And I mean Tony Khan's shelling out the money for the
for Wild Thing and Tarzan Boy. I mean, dude, good for him. He's got Pixies. The money. Yeah, the Pixies, with Orange Cassidy.
So there you go. So it's a battle royal. It'll be whatever. That's fine. It'll be right up until we get to the final four. That's from that point on that we'll be interested. So we'll see what happens. Next, the Young Bucks, the AEW World Tag Team Champions Matt and Nick Jackson, plus Sneakers, will be taking on the Thieves, the Dirty Scumbags, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And this is for the titles, of course. This is an interesting one for me, John, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. This is a match where I look at it on paper and I'm like, this cannot suck, because there are too many talented guys in this ring here. Like, it's not going to blow in any way, shape, or form. However, I am not interested in this match whatsoever. Like, this is one where I just can't get behind. I'm just like, I don't know where it came from. I thought the build was a little weird, and I'm not interested in it. Like, I'm not interested in the build. I'm interested in the match, but it doesn't get me going as a couple of other matches do on this card. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's because this Young Bucks thing it's weird. In my opinion,
you think okay.
I still can't figure it out. I'm trying to get behind it. The whole Young Bucks being like this over the top shit heel thing, and they're doing it like blatantly. Like, some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't. But Mox and Kingston, I love Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley together.
Absolutely.
This is the best thing that's happened in the last few months, in my opinion, in terms of like just something you didn't think you needed, and here it is, and now it's. But the styles of these two teams don't mesh for me, in my opinion. Like, the Bucks it's a spot fest. They usually start the card and it's just like, Meltzer driver after and that's just not Mox and Kingston. I'm going to kick the shit out of you and steal your shoes. So I'm interested to see the way they go with it. It would be pretty heelish of the Bucks to just go with a knockout drag out fight and not give us the Meltzer drivers in front of crowds and give us, all the spots and super kick parties. That I'd be interested to see. Well,
as from like the way you're describing the match right now, that's the kind of Young Bucks match that I prefer. Like, I'm not privy to the spot fests where they take 15 seconds to set everything up, kind of thing. Personal preference, and I am not one of those who goes around Young Bucks. All they do is jump around, no psychology. That's not what I'm saying. I just have I have a preferred type of match when it comes to the Young Bucks. It's just so I think I'm gonna get my preferred type of Young Buck match with these two guys here, with Moxley and Kingston, because Moxley and Kingston aren't going to do corkscrew Canadian destroyers. You know what I mean?
Like when they did it with FTR.
Yeah, exactly.
That was awesome, and I think we're gonna get that. But I think in front of a live crowd, which we haven't touched on, and there's going to be a full capacity crowd here. The crowd's going to want to see those spots, and I don't think they're going to give it to us just based on the psychology of who they're facing, right? you might see something. But I think it's going to end up in some weird, Brandon Cutler's going to throw banana peel in there and mess that Brandon Cutler, that
he's lawful evil now.
Yeah, so it's just the new Young Bucks gimmick thing. I'm trying really hard to get. I'm trying to get behind it. Like when he did the "I love you" to Christopher Daniels, I popped and I was like, all right, I get. But it's so over the top, and I'm so used to this. I guess I'm still in the Young Bucks built AEW from the ground up, and I just read their book, and I'm like, so I'm trying to like separate it.
And you see, that's interesting because, and by the way, I just want to say hello to Ryan Culp, who joined us in the chat. Good to see you, Ryan.
Culpito, my man.
There you go. See, it's the opposite for me because I get why the Young Bucks came in as baby faces in AEW. I completely get it, but I've always loved their heel work and PWG on the indies. They were such dicks, and they're dicks. And Matt Jackson, even when he was a baby face, still was a dick. There were occasions where you're like, oh, there he is. When he was being a dick to Hangman Page, I was like, of course, Matt Jackson's being a dick. Did I say Nick? I meant Matt.
They both have facial hair now, so I can't tell.
But it's Matt. Matt's the dick. And so when they were doing that feud with, the split, the Hangman splitting from the Elite, and Matt was being super passive aggressive towards him. I was like, this is the Matt Jackson that I learned to love to hate,
I guess it's so over the top now, like they're making it like a point to be over the top about it. I'm kind of like, I'm just trying to grasp it. But when they were subtly passive aggressive and that was working for me, I don't know. I'm giving it time. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm just like, where's this going and how does this end? And I don't know. All I know is that it's going to be interesting to have, John Moxley lose another match because I don't think that they're going to put the titles on him.
Sure. No, I don't think so.
I wanted Eddie Kingston and John Moxley tag team title run. I want that in my world.
Listen, Eddie Kingston's there to take the pin if we're being completely fair with each other.
I agree.
JPJ left us a super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very kind super chat on top of that. Thank you so much.
Low in the budget, JPJ.
Well, didn't we bankrupt? We bankrupt Kenny, right? So that's the money we got from not Kenny, Spencer.
We bankrupt Spencer to have you on Thursday.
So there you go. It's all that money flying around. It's fine. He says this should be a brawl. Talking about the match, of course. Mox and Kingston should hopefully bring out the worst/best of the Bucks and turn this into the fight we all want it to be. Like I said, I think the Bucks are going to wrestle a Moxley Kingston style match, and I think we're going to be surprised at how entertaining it is. I think like the Young Bucks are really talented professional wrestlers, and they can wrestle any kind of tag team match. I really do believe that, and I think we're going to get this. He's exactly right. I think this is what we're going to get, and it's going to be great.
And it's going to work again because like you said, you're full crowd. You're expecting crazy stunt Young Bucks, but they're not going to give it to you. So we're going to love that. But I think the fans might be like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting from the Young Bucks, and be upset about it. And
the Young Bucks can never win.
You can tweet at me about that if you're, I didn't like it. Yes, the Young Bucks, no matter what they do, they will never win.
They'll never really win.
They are phenomenal at what they do.
They really are.
They are.
Want to say hello to Conrad of Everything Pro Wrestling is in the chat. Good to see you. And Astrid Pizarro as well. Good to see you both. Let's keep going here. Sting and Darby Allin are going to be taking on Scorpio Sky and All Ego Ethan Page. Tag team match. This one's been brewing for a while. This is the first time that Sting is going to be wrestling a wrestling match in a wrestling ring as opposed to the cinematic match live in front of a crowd since he faced Seth Rollins all those years ago. John, this is a big deal.
Yeah. This is professional wrestling in a nutshell, right? So you've got 60-year-old Sting and 110-pound Darby Allin against two guys that look like they are like, just, you would build those guys in your creative pro wrestler. They are at their physical peak, and they look good, and they are phenomenal. Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. I didn't think I wanted them together, and I think it's working really well. And of course, I'm going, well, you know, if this was like sports based, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky take care of business 100 times out of 100.
Absolutely.
But this is fucking pro wrestling. Sting's getting this shit done. You're not paying Sting to take an L here.
Oh, really? Okay.
You're not. I'm sorry. You're just not. And Darby Allin, that dude gets hit by a bus, and he's like, I'm fine. I have trouble getting out of bed in the morning. He gets thrown down a flight of stairs, and he just goes out. He's like, this is fine. Let's do it again. So, yeah, I just think that you're in front of crowds 6 years. It's been 6 years since Sting has wrestled. He's not interviewing with Tony Schiavone. He's not playing chess with Tony Schiavone. He's actually wrestling. I think you give the fans in attendance what they want to see. Nobody wants to see Sting take an L.
Okay, that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Do you disagree?
I highly disagree, and I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
Because I think Scorpio Sky is part of the future of AEW. I
don't disagree.
He is absolutely. He's been flip-flopped. He's one of the. We have a tendency to talk about the numerous successes that AEW have had with a lot of their talent that they've taken and grown, you know, and made into something special. Like, you know, Tai Conchi is, you know, one that comes to mind. Or how they rehabilitated both Britt Baker and Hangman Page from just like, ooh, we're not quite sure what to do with them, into legitimate superstars. Scorpio Sky is one of these guys that they've flip-flopped a lot with him. Not quite sure where to go. Start, stop, heel turn. Now they're leaning into the heel turn with Ethan Page, who came in a couple of months ago into the ladder match as a surprise entrant. But again, like, and now I feel they're starting to they're starting to build something, these two together. They're starting to really lean into their heel personas. I don't think that you have them lose here because I think that a couple of heel characters getting the big win over a legend like Sting, who is still legitimately loved by wrestling fans, is a great way to get that thing that they call heat. Right? I think
that's an excellent take. I didn't think of it like that.
Because the two things that compound my feelings here are that I think Sting is there to put over new guys. And I don't think they brought him in to do that. I think Sting is in the mindset that he wants to leave the business on his terms, which is fair. Like, he wants a proper hero's goodbye. He wants to do it one more time properly and then exit when he decides, as opposed to WWE Medical telling him you can't wrestle anymore. Sorry, pal. And that's fair. And I think he wants to leave the business in a better state than when he wants to leave it in a better state when he leaves. So he wants to help create the stars of the future. I think from what I understand of Steve Borden, I think these are legitimate things that he's considering here. So he sees two guys who, like you said, look like $1 million, look like pro wrestlers, have charisma, have potential, have years, decades still on their career. I think he's like, yeah, that's fine. Let's put them over. And Darby, fucking bulletproof. Darby takes an L. It's fine. He'll dust himself off, and then he'll start throwing himself off of shit. Then next weekend,
dude, that dude's crazy.
That'll be fine. You know. So if I'm booking this show, I'm giving the win to Sky and Page. Instant heat. You don't want them to win.
That's a huge statement too. Yeah, that says this is our future, like you said. So yeah, I mean, if you want to take that route, I'm going to take that other route just to be different.
That's fine.
You know what? Like I said earlier,
and you know what?
Difference. I'm going to win.
I think both. I think both are extremely legitimate in this case. Either you start building new heels, or you give the fans what they want. Either or.
And they gave us, and in a lot of ways, you think about it, they gave us what we wanted with the cinematic match.
Sure.
Having Sting wrestle and show up on a weekly basis. And I mean, he's been getting more involved. This is Darby's just going to take a beating, and Sting's going to they're going to make it look like Sting did a lot, but he's not going to. I don't think he's going to give us a 20-minute match.
I don't think so either. No. A 7-minute match, 7-8 minute match where Darby eats shit for 6 minutes, and you know what the audience wants? I'll tell you what the audience wants. Above a Sting victory, they want a Stinger splash. They want him to do woo, and they want a Scorpion Deathlock. That's what they want.
On Scorpio Sky. Scorpion Deathlock on Scorpion Sky. Say that 5 times fast.
That's Inception shit right there. Cyclops is better than Wolverine is with us, and he left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Says, I may be alone on this, but I don't care about Sting. There's something you don't hear often. I agree, but what do you think about his opinion? He's that's absolutely fine. I can get why someone isn't necessarily into Sting, John.
I can get why some people aren't into whatever. Wrestling, that is wrestling, and that's what makes it amazing. It is a buffet. If you don't like it, don't eat it. If you like it, keep coming back for more. I just think it's really cool. Like, I'm not the hugest Sting fan in the world. I was more of the NWO guy growing up as I age myself here. But it's cool in 2021 to see a guy his age that we haven't seen, who has that allure, wrestling in a match in front of a live crowd, who's willing to put over younger talent. I won't make you go down the Goldberg rant train today. We'll save that. But you get what I'm saying. It's cool. It's nice to see. I'm cool with this. He's not taking a world titles pick, spot.
No.
Buddy. He's having a quick match where he's putting over 3 people. And in his last match, he made Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, whether that name sticks or not. He was in that match and put them in the center spotlight, had them look really good, and he's helping build, like you said, for the future. So you can't hate it. I mean, you can. That's fine. But I don't.
But I can also understand someone having old-timer veteran fatigue too. I don't know if that's part of what Cyclops is better than Wolverine's feelings are. But, I can understand, especially since, the other company and the way they use their vets isn't necessarily inspiring, And so, I can understand why sometimes you just might get annoyed by that. You're like, oh, the old guys again. And he just pointed out in the chat, he says, I'm just not a nostalgia guy. So there you go. I mean, if you're focused, and that's super fair. You want the current product. You want the current faces. You want them to get the spots. I can totally understand that. Absolutely. So we're at odds in regards to the result of this match. Let's see if we are at odds in regards to Hangman Adam Page versus Brian Cage here.
That rhymes.
It does rhyme. That's bars, actually. I'll let you just jump right into this one, John. How do you feel? Like, feels like one of the most random matches they have on this card. What are your thoughts about it?
I'm with you there. It's a random kind of pairing, and are they 50-50 in this? Like, they had Page lose to Cage, and then this is Hangman's match to win on what we all agree would be his road to Kenny Omega.
Sure.
I think that's the long-term goal here. So
I think that's the conventional wisdom. Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I'm not super excited for this one. I like both competitors, but I also just, again, it's weird. It's random. I don't see how this benefits either one outside of Page winning and just stacking that resume again and keeping moving through the summer. Is the FTW title on the line?
No.
Did he just carry that around?
Yeah. Because it's a lifestyle, if you remember that Taz promo.
It is a lifestyle, but you have a belt, defend it. Why not? At least then I'd be like, oh, I could see Hangman Page walking around with that. He's already got that mindset as it is. just drinking and hanging out with the Dark Order. You know, I don't know.
So
this, you take the floor on this one. I got nothing.
I see, as a bit out of the blue that this match feels like, it's one of the matches I'm most looking forward to on the card, solely on the basis of that extraordinary match they had on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was like, that came out of nowhere, showcased Brian Cage like a killer, Hangman Page being as good as he usually is, but that match was amazingly good. So I'm like, well, if that's what they do for a TV match, I'm stoked for the pay-per-view match, right? Like, if they're bringing it up, if they're gonna knock it up, I'm super cool with that.
To go, you got lucky, Paige.
Yeah,
you got lucky. You're lucky I'm not gonna
that's what you. But I agree with you. Like, do you 50-50 this? I don't want to go down that road. AEW is really, really good at, even in a loss. When Hangman took that loss, I think everybody's like, the sky is falling for Hangman. Yeah, but that's
it's brain not. Worms. He got right back at it. He's back on a hot streak. Cage is on. It's gonna be good, but it's like, what do you do with Brian Cage after that?
I think you build Brian Cage. I think he wins again. Because my whole theory in regards to Adam Page was destroyed when Brian Cage defeated him. I was like, oh, okay, it just took a sharp right in regards to what I thought they were planning, where, you know, Kenny would be ducking Hangman Page despite Page having like a 30-win streak, you know, and then people being like, Kenny, you can't duck him anymore. You can't. He is legitimately the number one contender. You can't. There's nothing you can do. So they're clearly not going down that road. I still think Hangman Page and Kenny Omega is the match. I still think that's what we're going towards.
To take the sports analogy of it, like in college football, it's great to get the loss out of the way early than it is to lose at the end of the season and then you're out of the playoffs. This way, you can have Page go on a run after he, loses to Brian Cage and elevate Cage. So,
because I think that's what they have to do. Because look, to me, Brian Cage is a natural feud for Miro as TNT champion. I think it's a natural fit. Be fantastic. I think it'd be great for these guys to really go at it.
Those guys have more muscles in their pinky toe than I have on my whole body. So yes, let's see that.
Absolutely. And I'm still of the mindset, I still think Page versus Omega at All Out, Page loses, and then at Revolution next year they get the rematch, and that's when Hangman Page wins. Third time's the charm, because he already lost to Omega.
Yeah,
that's what I think. Anyway, I'm not booking, but circling back here, I think this is one that could go either way, but I think you want to build Brian Cage, and I think you want to make him look dominant, and personally, I'm okay with, let's say, Brian Cage becomes the thorn in Adam Page's side, the wrestler that Adam Page just can't beat. I'm okay with that kind of story. Like they did with Asuka and Becky Lynch for a while. Becky Lynch was unable to beat Asuka until she did, and they didn't make a big deal out of it. It was a perfect story, but that's a whole other thing. That's the kind of sports-centric storytelling that I like, where you can call back around on this, and it's like, in their last 6 encounters, Brian Cage has defeated Hangman all 6 times. Does Hangman finally have the formula to beat him this time around, kind of thing?
Even bad football teams play really well against their division rivals. You know what I mean? So you build that, like you said. I think that's an excellent point. Have that one guy or 2 guys that you just can't.
Yeah.
It's always a knockout, drag-out slugfest, and either one of you can win. I'm cool with that. I'm still going to go with Paige just to be different from you. Why not?
But again, it could be. Ultimately, it'd be okay. I'd be okay with it because I love Hangman Page. I think if I were booking it, I'd put Cage over. I'd put Brian Cage over. So we'll see.
Well, you're wrong, Warren. That's all I'm saying. Having an opinion different than mine?
My God, man.
What do you think this is? Oh,
my show.
I'm a guest on your show.
That's the point. You should agree with me more.
Okay, you know what? You're right, Warren. Brian Cage it is.
Hydration break.
Let's reset.
I got a little flustered just because my hydration levels were a little low.
Yes.
So it's very important, folks, to keep yourself hydrated with water. In this case here, as I mentioned earlier on the pre-show that we were doing.
ASMR there.
No, it's not bubbling quite as much, but water fresh out of my soda stream. A little bubbly, just to make, because I can understand, I understand people is I don't like water. Add a slice of lemon. Let's take, we're getting our hydration break. Here's what you do. You get yourself a nice mason jar. You fill it with cold water. Take a handful of strawberries. Just slice them down the middle. Don't get fancy. Just take the tails off, right? Just slice them down the middle, John. Put them in there. Couple of slices of lemon. Close that bastard up. Put it in your fridge. Let it stand overnight. The next day, you have a taste sensation at your fingertips. Not too lemony, a little sweet, nice little pinkish color to it. Fantastic stuff. I'm telling you guys, there's no reason to not be drinking water because there are too many ways to make water interesting. Just like making Anthony Ogogo interesting with Cody Rhodes in this feud that they've been having. They're going to have themselves a singles match at Double or Nothing. I'm excited about this one. I legitimately am. I mean, everyone's talked about the promo. Everyone, but I mean, I'm excited for this match. Do you know why? Because they built it so that I'm excited to see Anthony Ogogo wrestle.
Yeah.
Just as simple as that.
Is Cody such a genius that he does these things that we know are over the top, but in like low key, he built this guy into somebody that we want to see wrestle, and not only wrestle, I think we want to see him win. And Cody's like, I'm Cody. I'm bulletproof. He cut the promo that was questionable.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't feeling it, and I think it was the wrong climate. They went with the trope that all foreigners are bad, and
yep.
I hate that trope. I think that is lazy.
I mean,
in a way,
we're in 2021 now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, he's from Britain, and I'm an American Dream, but he did this in a way that, so he's coming out as the American Dream.
Mm-hmm.
Is he willing to take the L as the American Dream? There's so much to this, right?
Okay.
But if you beat Anthony Ogogo, you just said, well, this guy isn't. I think he's going to get the W here, Ogogo, right? I want to see him hit. The only thing I'm looking forward to is how many liver punches is Cody Rhodes going to take, right?
It's going to be,
it's going to be like 10.
Is it good? Yeah, I was going to say, is it going to be like the Fiend eating curb stomps level?
So over the top American Dream. They're shoving it down his face. They let Austin Gunn take 2 of these things. Austin Gunn
was bleeding from the mouth.
Yeah, Cody's taking 10 of these things. There's going to be blood all over that match. I feel bad for whoever's got to wrestle in the ring next. It's just and then yesterday they had the build, and Paul White's like, Ogogo, you came out with 4 guys. What are you, scared? And then Cody comes out with 50 people.
Yeah. The most Cody Rhodes thing.
Like, it's so over the top, but in a weird way, I think this is part of Cody's genius. He's going to go, I know people are going to shit all over what I'm doing, but look at this guy that we just built that you all want to see kick my ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if they're portraying him as the heel, we want to see what this guy can do. So in a weird way, Cody is playing the part perfectly.
Listen, Anthony Ogogo confirmed to me last week that he will never be a heel in my book. when he tweeted out his how thankful he was that a whole bunch of people unfollowed him once he tweeted a picture of himself officiating the marriage of his sister and her girlfriend. And he said, there, all the bigots are gone off my timeline. I'm like, how am I going to hate this guy moving forward? I can't. I just can't. Regardless, he'll always be a good guy in my book at this point. So, Chad, by the way, let me know. I know you have opinions on the Cody Rhodes Ogogo stuff. I know you do. You watch wrestling. You watch wrestling for two reasons: for wrestling and to have opinions. Drop them in the chat. Let us know what you think about Ogogo and Cody and all this stuff. This is what I don't know how genius it is, because I think it's Cody's love of the old school that's just bubbling back up to the surface. You know, he likes it. The greatest thing that Cody Rhodes has done is convince people that he's an old school wrestler guy. When he's come up in the 2000s, you know, worked for WWE, the Indies, but New Japan, Ring of Honor, you know, he didn't sweat it on the territories. You know, and I love how, you know, people are like, Cody's the old school guy. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. You know, if anything, Dustin is legitimately an old school wrestler, right?
He's been wrestling for what, 40 years?
Yeah, and I mean,
like,
and he's actually did territories towards the end in WCW. Like, he did the whole thing. So I love it when it's like, oh, Cody's an old school guy. He loves old school wrestling, and that's fine. And that's why his feud with his brother worked so well, because it just called on all these basic precepts of wrestling. And it's the same thing here. Rah, America, USA versus the evil foreigner. It's the most old school basic thing. So it's not a surprise to a degree where you're like, of course Cody's going to do this at some point, because he likes the revival stuff. He likes to bring it back. He likes to make us feel like, oh yeah, this is how we used to do it. I just think,
but it's a terrible trope.
I don't like it. I don't. I think it's.
I like all the other stuff. The foreigner thing is played out and not, but the way he's going about just being eccentrically over the top about it, it's like, dude.
Yeah.
You're doing these. He does this. This is what Cody does. He smashes thrones. He says he's never going to challenge for titles. He cuts these promos. He always puts himself in these spots where, for better or worse, at least we know we're going to be talking about it.
And like, I don't know how much he has a tendency to then go back on Twitter and explain what happened, you know? So sometimes I'm like, is it genius, or is it not the result he was expecting? Like, maybe he was expecting something else. Yeah, you know, or just kind of like, oh, yeah, my promo was good, man. I ran it through a focus group. It was fine. I'm like, come on, man.
But then to go, I think I misspoke.
But he didn't misspeak.
It wasn't a focus group. It was like, I worked it through veterans backstage. But he didn't misspeak, because if he had said, oh, I ran it through a focus group, and he says it a little bit offhandedly, saying, oh yeah, I sent it to my friends and my confidants and I asked them what they thought about it. But no, he said, I workshopped them, put it through a focus group. We're a data-driven company. We have databases. And I'm like, no, he didn't misspeak. He didn't misspeak. That's exactly what he meant. And I was crying. I thought it was the funniest shit. It's like, don't tell people. You spent most of your time building AEW saying, we're not going to have writers. We're going to have people come up with these organic promos. And now you're telling me you're running your promos through focus groups. Most old school, new school guy ever. I'm going to be old school on screen and keep kayfabe alive, but let me tweet about what I was actually doing.
Exactly.
Scenes. Oh, Cody.
But
I hope he gets liver punched.
10 times, he says. And I think he's going to get liver punched. I think he's losing. If there's one thing that you have to, that you absolutely need to say about Cody Rhodes is that he has been putting new guys consistently over. Ricky Starks, Darby Allin. You can even argue that he helped make Brody Lee when Brody Lee had the squash for the TNT title, right? Let's not forget how bad Cody took a beating in that match, didn't get any offense in when Brody Lee won the title. He's doing it with, but that's the thing, is that he has to do it with these new guys, with a guy like Ogogo. I don't think Cody should win. If Cody wins, then they're starting to nexus QT's guys. Because the idea, if your idea for QT's group is to take some young guys, break them away, to elevate them, give them a star position within the company, you can't have the top guy coming in and then you know, crushing them and holding wins over them. Then it's just Cena and the Nexus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cena chance would be raining down at Daly's place. That would be something. That would be something.
Unless there's a way, unless they do it in a way where Ogogo loses, but keeps all the heat, like, which is possible too, you know. But the point I'm trying to make is that Ogogo has to be strong, has to win, or leave on his 2 feet. And if he loses the match, Cody has to be dead, like figuratively speaking, of course. And
we're gonna do the old throwing the towel trope again.
Maybe, you know, it's like
I'm with you. I think you gotta put a go over here. Like you said. I mean, Cody's not in a title picture. The other EVPs are off doing title things. His job should be to continue to build this next crop of people, because whether we like it or not, you know, Cody's getting older. They're all getting older, and if you want AEW to be successful, yes, you need names, but you need to build names. That's what we complain about at the other companies. They don't build enough stars, and they rely on Legends nights,
right,
and things like that. So this has to be him standing tall. Yeah, Cody, take 10 liver punches. I joke, but take a beating, do the Cody Rhodes bleeding all over the place thing, but let this guy stand tall in Daly's place.
Right.
I don't think people are going to boo him after the fact. I don't know. Maybe it is. I mean, if they boo him, that's good heat.
That's what you want.
I'm interested to see what they do.
I'm really excited.
Because there's so many of us that are like, he's the face of this. Cody's the heel.
I love Anthony Ogogo's my boy. I love him.
That's right.
He's
That's
great.
Right.
Cyclops is better than Wolverine left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, did you all see Ogogo's tweet on Stone Mountain face? Yes, I did see that earlier today, where Anthony Ogogo was visiting Stone Mountain in Georgia, which is that monument. It's a mountain, but it's also a monument to Confederate leaders, right? And I don't remember the exact wording of the tweet, but he was like, I'm visiting this place where they're celebrating fallen soldiers who were fighting to keep slavery alive, you know? And I'm like, oh boy. Again.
Base.
Yeah. Yeah.
Base. Sorry, Cody.
I'm telling you, Ogogo is he's not a heel for me, I'll tell you that much. But thank you very much, Cyclops is better than Wolverine, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Let's keep this going. We've also got Miro versus Lance Archer fighting off for the TNT title. Hot off of Miro's win a couple of weeks ago. Miro looks like $1,000,000, doesn't he, John? It's amazing.
$1,000,000 or whatever Miro spends, whatever he's got. That dude, I mean, I'm telling you what, his work in the last month alone has been insanely good, and everything that we've expected when he signed, right? This is what we wanted, but they kind of slow played him into the spot and had him hang out with Kip Sabian, which is fine. And now we're seeing what we wanted to see years ago from Miro. I'm looking forward to this. I love Lance Archer. I love Miro. I think they're both it's just gonna be a knockout, drag out, just two big sons of bitches just beating the crap out of each other.
What do you okay, let's get this out of the way straight off the bat. And chat, of course, let us know who you think is going to win here. Lance Archer or does Miro retain? Because let's just go right into this one, and then I'll ask you my follow-up question. Who do you think wins here? Does Miro retain or does Archer win the title?
I think Miro retains. I think there's more meat on the Miro bone. It's one of those Lance Archer.
That's a weird thing to say, though.
What?
There's more meat on the Miro bone?
More meat on the Miro bone.
I don't want to think about Miro's meat or bones.
I'm not here to kink shame Warren. I think about meat on Miro's bone. I'm not. You know what? Nope,
Take off your shirt.
Nope. Oh. This might possibly be the most sexual word. Shirts, bones. You know what I'm saying.
Yes. No, I know.
There's more meat to the Miro story.
Yes.
But it's more fun to say bone. What am I going to do? Oh, and now I'm knocking cameras over. Oh,
that's fine.
Anyway, back on track
here. I think Miro retains as well. I think there's just too much still hanging around here. Now here's the follow-up question. Here's the big one. And I think it's a really good question. What do you do with Lance Archer?
That was where I thought you were going, so I kind of held back there and we started talking about bones. Lance Archer, in a weird way, is in that Jungle Boy space where it's like you put him in these high-profile matches, he's going to show out, he's going to look good, he's going to do his job in putting over the Miros of the world. But at what point do you just go, again, he's a big spot, he's taking that L. So I'm interested to see where they go. I mean, with the Forbidden Door thing, I'd like to see some New Japan callback crossover, maybe do some stuff. But
that'd be fun.
I don't know what you do with Lance Archer. He's one of those guys when you signed him, you're like, all right, that makes sense. But then what do you just, there's only so many spots for him. And he's not one of those guys that I would say separates himself from the pack. He's a big dude that, takes L's.
He's been tweeting a lot that or at least saying, that he's super happy and that apparently there's some good news that's arrived and there's some big things on the way for him in AEW. Like he said it recently that he's never been as happy in a wrestling promotion as he is right now with AEW. So he's part of their plan. I have trouble seeing when and where right now. And I think the guy is great. And I think the biggest revelation for a lot of people is how good on the mic he is. I think it's something that I think that's become a surprise quality for him. It's like suddenly out of the blue, not only is he a big, athletic, monstrous guy, but he can cut promos. He doesn't need Jake Roberts talking for him.
No. And honestly, for me, Jake Roberts, the thing has kind of ran its course. I think
so too.
He doesn't ultimately bring anything more to the group or to the duo that Lance just couldn't do himself.
No, he doesn't.
And honestly, I think if he did it himself, it might come across a little bit better and be like, oh, this dude. Yeah. But you got Jake Roberts who, for better or worse, stumbles over some of those promos and it doesn't always hit. It's kind of like the old, oh, that's my crazy uncle spouting off of the mouth again. So you kind of, by association, look a little worse because crazy uncle just said something like Miro's meat on the bone.
So we're both in agreement. Miro is going to win here. I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, let's keep that train rolling.
I think there's another safe bet here in the AEW Women's World Championship match where Hikaru Shida is going to be defending against Dr. Britt Baker. I think this is a safe bet here too. Bet that Britt Baker is going to be crowned the new Women's World Champion.
If it does not happen here, when? Like, what are they waiting on? Right? That's my only... If it doesn't happen, and predictability doesn't necessarily mean this is going to be a bad match, I think both of them are phenomenal. Shida did a great job over this past year holding down the title. I wish they would have did a little more with her, but that's not her fault. She doesn't write the shit. But yeah, Britt Baker firing on all cylinders. I think there's a collision course to be had again. I think you call back with the Thunder Rosa stuff. I think Britt could have great matches with Red Velvet. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That would rule.
Jade Cargill, that could be fun. So yeah, if you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? What are you waiting for? Like, what more can she do?
There's, this, I don't think Britt has been this hot since forever. I think she's at her peak right now. This is the logical moment to put the title on her. And I don't think there's not I haven't heard a compelling argument to the opposite right now to say, nah, keep it on Shida because XY. Again, there are other wrestling companies that will remain anonymous that that sit on matches, that sit on, the moment to give someone a title and finally end up doing it when the ship is passed, right? This is Britt's moment. This is it. She's never been this good. She's never been this over. She is literally the face of the women's division right now. She is one of the most entertaining acts in the entire company, male or female put together.
Yeah, I had her win it. I thought she should have won the tournament.
I think so too.
I thought that was a perfect spot. And then I don't think they planned this out where they're like, we're going to have fans, right? I think that's how the cards fell. And then here we are, full crowd. And I think last night it showed she was over with the fans.
Oh, hell yeah.
Make it happen. Do it. Let's see where she can go. You can only do so much with her without the title. It doesn't hit as well. But now that you signed her first, people ran with that, right? She's the first women's signing, so she should be she should be Becky Lynch, right? But it took time. She's here now. She's there. You can still, milk she was the first AEW women's signee.
Sure.
If she doesn't win, I'm going to throw something. Like, this is on my show, we have the "You Gotta Be Joking Me" moment of the week. Shout out Iconics. This would be the "You Gotta Be Joking Me" moment of the year. Like, why not do it right now? Make it happen. Double or Nothing. DMD champion.
There's really no.
And it's a new title belt, right? There's a brand new title belt.
Well, is that the new title, or is it the new title, or is it title they gave to Shida?
I don't know.
I don't know. Look, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Like,
but in true Britt Baker form, take both of them.
Oh yeah, just take both. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Walk around, Britt 2 belts. I don't care. Just give her the title. Let's have the summer of Britt.
And I'm with you. Shida did everything she could during the pandemic. She was a great champion for them. I think, and just on a purely booking sense, on a pure basic booking sense, John, I think it also makes sense. It makes even more sense to put the title on Britt, because then you get fresh matches across the board. Shida's fought pretty much everyone, or close to. Britt's going to give a whole bunch of extra fresh matches, and people are going to be clamoring for a rematch with Thunder Rosa. They're going to be wanting a match with Chris Statlander. It's like this is stuff that people want to see. Then just make it happen. This wild concept, John, of wrestling promotions putting on matches that people want to see.
What?
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not. I don't run a promotion. What do I know?
It's hard to stay hydrated when you're blowing my mind.
Well, take a sip there as I read a super chat from our boy Throwback. Thank you very much, Throwback. He says, has Pluggo's wife asked him to take his shirt off yet? This is the biggest meme I've ever seen. My God. And yet
Throwback,
he has.
You know it. And so has Anakin and Aaron.
Yeah,
and WarrenHayes asked. I've got that. I'll clip that. I'm going to use that in my
oh my God
highlight package.
There
the great WarrenHayes asked me to take my shirt off on his stream.
And I kind of said a little
check.
Yeah. And I kind of said it a little aggressively too. It's like, take it off.
Yeah, let's go now. Oh. Oh boy.
All right, so that'll be so that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Throwback, for the super chat. We're getting towards the end here. Kenny Omega is going to be defending the AEW World Championship, won't he? Not only against Pac, but against Orange Cassidy in a triple threat match. I'd like your thoughts. Straight off the bat, John, I'm going to give you mine. Mine is very, very simple. I don't like triple threat matches for titles. I don't. And chalk it up to maybe fatigue because of another company that does them all the time. Maybe. But I don't like it. I would have preferred a singles match with either of these guys. But that's just me. The floor is yours.
Is it Pac or Pac? Which do you say?
Pac.
Pac.
Perk.
Yeah, it was
Proc.
I would have.
Plark.
X-Pac.
Spurnacker.
Word. Jumbled words. For me, yeah, the triple threat thing is what it is. I'm of the belief that Orange Cassidy is bulletproof and should be kind of used a little bit more sparingly. I think like the Illuster it wears off, but him and Pac have a great chemistry together, and I think Orange Cassidy is here to take the L. And I think in this particular triple threat scenario, we know there's shenanigans coming, right? Because there's no rules. The storyline has been that Omega doesn't want this. He hasn't wanted it. He's been trying to get Cassidy out of it for this whole time. So I think we see some good brother interference. Don Callis gets involved.
Do you? Yeah.
I think so. I know that it's not AEW's style. Like, I was actually surprised that they had the distraction finish for the number one contender match. So I thought, but wouldn't that just be Kenny Omega chicken shit heel just to leave on a smarmy way?
I mean, it makes sense, but they have been good in protecting their finishes like that, you know. And the distraction, from what I understand, the distraction finish for the number one contenders match was because, you know, Orange got his bell rung and couldn't get back up, because the match was supposed to go.
Would you say he got juiced?
I would say he got juiced.
Did he get juiced?
And juice is tasty, but never a substitute for water for proper hydration. That being said, you know, I think that you know, the idea was it was supposed to go 20 minutes, so no interference, so on and so forth. I think they went to that finish. It was something that was called on the fly, from what I understand, the interference. So thinking on your feet and that kind of thing. But as far as the pay-per-views go and all that, you know, if there has been interferences, it's never led to the finish. You know what I mean? Like, it happens during the match, but it never directly leads into the finish. It's not like belt shot, rolls him up, 1, 2, 3, we're done. You know, it's like belt shot, then stuff happens, and then you eventually get to the finish.
But there's a first time for everything.
There's a first time for everything. But I would have been super satisfied, and I think Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy, I think, would have. Let's not forget, we're getting a live crowd of people who are chomping at the bit to cheer for wrestling. And Orange Cassidy, super over. Kenny, super over. Like, that's ultimately all you needed. That's really all you needed. People were just going to go nuts regardless. And there's no one here that thinks that Kenny Omega is going to drop the title. So whoever, that's fine. Like we said earlier, it's not because the ending is predictable. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey, right?
Right.
So
what does Pac ultimately bring to this? I guess I feel like that's where you're going with it. Like, adding him in.
I mean, no. I mean, my point being is that Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy would have been a little fresher because we've seen Pac and Omega go at it a couple of times in AEW, but then again, Pac and Omega go at it in AEW, and it's amazing. So that would have been a good match too. It's just the fresher match, and the one where people would have just cheered for and gone nuts for. Cassidy, Omega, I think as a singles match, it would have worked really, really well. That's the point I'm trying to make. Not that Pac is the third wheel here. My God.
No,
I would never dare say Pac is a third wheel for anything.
I don't want him coming to beat me up. No, I don't mean it in a bad way. I just, like you said, to that point, like the two of them would have been a home run in front of fans.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of throw Pac in there, and it kind of gets convoluted in a way where I think they're going to put on a great show for a triple threat.
Oh, for sure.
You didn't need it. So you're kind of just putting a hat on a hat on a hat.
That's a good analogy. Because
there'll be a lot going on there with the Death Triangle, Cassidy's crew. It might just it could end up just being a brawl because there's no DQ in a triple threat. So.
Might end up becoming the catalyst for them trios titles that were rumored to get.
That Cody pretty much said on the conference call that's coming, and maybe Chris Stanlander, boops Don Callis. That'd be fun. And then clotheslines him or something. I don't know. All right. I'm here for that. I'm here for some shenanigans.
I'm looking forward to this match, regardless, because it won't be bad. There's the three gentlemen involved in this match are just too goddamn fucking talented for it to not be a good match. We're talking personal preferences here, because I'm aware, like, this is completely a personal preference thing. Triple match I could have done without. A triple threat match I could have done without.
What?
Who do you think is going to win here?
You and your personal preferences.
Me and my personal preferences win all the time.
Not allowed. I think you go Omega. I don't.
No.
I would love, though. I would love a full crowd, Orange Cassidy holding up the belt with the thumb. Oh, dude, that'd be a great ending to this. But I think you go with Omega and you just run with it. I'm interested to see how they do it. This match for me is all about how are they going to get to the destination, and I'm all for that. So, but it's Omega. It's Omega.
Throwback left us a super chat and a kind super chat on top of that. Thank you very much, Throwback. I appreciate it. He says, this is the Omega versus Roman of preview shows. My God, this is amazing. And there isn't a title belt being contested here. Hey, me, I'm not about the titles. I'm not.
Throwback is all about that. So who's Roman and who's Omega here?
Clearly.
I'm no tribal chief, you know what I'm saying? I'm no head of the table.
No, well, the head of the table knows that you have to stay properly hydrated 8 ounces 8 times a day. That's all I'm going to say. He says, by the way, Omega wins. Pac wins just by losing. Sure, because Pac is amazing. The old saying, no one loses, they both win. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
you know who wins? We win. The fans. This match will be a lot of fun.
And it's
going to be a fun match, you guys.
It's going to be a fun match, you guys. That's at the very least. Absolutely.
So that's a WarrenHayes staple right there.
You got that right, Sonny. And I'm going to send you, you're going to get a letter from my lawyers, by the way.
Cease and desist. Well,
I mean, this is a fun cease and desist letter, you guys.
If you've been paying attention to Spencer and I's little beef, controversy creates cash. That's my whole motto.
Well, hey, listen, the main controversy regarding Spencer Love, who's in the chat, by the way, how you doing, Spenny? The main controversy about him is that his voice hasn't broken yet. So that's and yet there he is podcasting. The Pinnacle and the Inner Circle are going to have a stadium stampede match, John. It off of the blood, guts, crash pads. We're leading into the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. Look, I have questions more than answers about this match. Not gonna lie. I'm looking forward to it. How do you think this is gonna go down? What are your feelings about it? Tell us about your feelings.
This is one of those blood and guts.
Yes.
But I'm not a piece of meat for it. I have feelings. I wouldn't have this show any other way. That's all I'm going to say. If I'm never invited back, I've peaked.
We will always have this moment.
We'll always have this moment. Blood and guts, right? That's the finish to this thing. And you just move them on, and there's no reason the inner circle can't exist and the Pinnacle can't exist. I know why they're doing it. I know that's, well, we can't, I think in a way, it's going to be the Pinnacle. By the way, what does Chris Jericho have against pineapples? He was Pineapple Pete, the Pineapple Pinnacle. What is this beef with pineapple?
I don't understand. He does not like tasty, sweet citrus fruit?
He's from Canada. Is that like a Canada
No.
thing? I'm just checking because I know you're from up there. Spencer's up there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it might be an Alberta thing, though. Well, they're from the same province. So,
but my point is, so I think Chris Jericho, and he's been doing it in this build, he's been doing a lot of backseat driving. He's been letting the Sammy Guevaras and the Hagers and Santana Ortiz speak first, and then he comes in. So I think he's prepping these guys for their next ventures in AEW. So I'm excited to see what they do. I don't know if it's going to replicate the first one, because I thought that was fantastic. I had a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. All I want is some scene they're running through the practice field and Tim Tebow and Trevor Lawrence look at each other and go, where are we? And like Urban Meyer to be like, what the fuck is this? Like, that's all I want. And then the rest of it can end however it needs to end. But I just want there to be a Tim Tebow moment, because why would you sign him and have him practicing right now down there? For you sports fans, he's there. He's working. Anyway,
mods, please ban any chat about Tim Tebow in the chat right now. That's something I forgot to mention from the start of the show.
Oh, well, you should have told me in our pre-show Discord there. Yeah. I wasn't aware.
I thought we were on the same level.
I think it's going to be good. I think all the participants are good. There's a lot of questions as to where they go, how they do it, how they make it different, right? You can only do so much in a football stadium that you did at the first one.
Well, here's the thing. I think that it can't be comedy, right? Like you're saying, this is maybe we disagree on this, where it's like have Team Tebow and standing around and going, doing what, or a spit take.
That'd be awesome. Don't lie.
But you can't do that. You can't do that in this context, because look. A couple of weeks ago, they were bleeding on each other. They wanted to murder each other. Now you can't come in and have funny spots and people resurrecting out of water and people riding around in horses and taking shot glasses of milk. Like, you can't do that in how this feud was built. If they do that, it's a step back. Look, I'm not gonna lie. The thing that they did when Jericho came back and they sprayed them with water, I thought it was a complete tonal dissonance with everything they had set up so far with the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, where they're all like, it's all business. It's not corny shit. It's just, we're just beating the hell out of each other. And I'm like, why are they doing this?
I didn't like it either.
To me, it was a tonal shift that didn't make sense. So if they come into the Stadium Stampede thing with the idea that they can do the ha-has, it's not going to connect. It's not going to register, because technically these are two teams, 10 guys who want to kill each other. A couple of weeks ago, you had Dax Harwood basically telling Santana, kiss your kids, tell them daddy's not coming home. You're like, Jesus, man. That was amazing. So now you can't turn around and be like, we're doing locomotion Northern Light suplexes across the football field and punching the Jaguars mascot. You can't do that shit.
You're right.
And
you're the voice of reason, Warren. You're properly hydrated.
See, it's all about hydration, man. That's how you get the good takes. And I think last night on Dynamite, with the way it ended, and I apologize, John, I know I don't want to blindside you. I know you didn't watch the whole thing, but the show ended with dual pile drivers through tables, like jumping off a railing through tables. I'm like, okay, so this is the tone that they're setting. It's going to be all business, no nonsense. Then they tweet out a picture of the inner circle, not the inner circle, but the Pinnacle pissing on the inner circle logo that's on one of the end zones. Like they're all turned and they all have their trousers down and they're, and they're peeing on it. So like it's not about comedy. They hate each other. And that's the tone you have to go. I think if we get anything else, I'll be disappointed.
I'm with that. Make that happen. That sounds great. I do think though you will see some slight comedic spots because I think that's the inner circle's stick is they're kind of funny. They try to be funny. The whole water shooting thing, which I personally wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't think that it needed to happen, especially the week after Blood and Guts.
No, it didn't serve anything.
Let it simmer. But yeah, I mean, the only, like you said, I think if you have Stadium Stampede 1, which is hilarious, they put out the shirts when they lost, 50% off thing. I think you have Stadium Stampede 2 be like an absolute war, right? Like in all seriousness, you're right. Like,
and here's the thing that I'm really curious to see how they're going to execute this. We're hyping it. We keep being reminded this is the first big pay-per-view back with a full arena of people. You can't have 70% of the match happen on the fucking football field with people in the audience watching it on a screen, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a misread if you do that.
Yeah. So yeah, do you go 70% in the ring and then some shenanigans? I mean, there's 10 guys going. Maybe they have some action always in the ring. Maybe they have it on the screen, and you're kind of, keeping an eye out wherever you want. I'm more intrigued. Like you said, there's more questions.
That's it. I'm intrigued as to how they do it. You remember that brawl that Butcher and the Blade and the Bucks had that started like in the kitchens.
Where Butcher didn't have a shirt on, and I was like, that's an FDA violation, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I can't be in my butcher shop shirtless.
Absolutely not. And especially not on a YouTube podcast, by the way, because you don't want to wreck the terms of service. But I like the structure of that match because it started with the shenanigans in the back, which were entertaining, but then they eventually got to the ring. And then the match the match exploded for me when they all got.
But they did say the ring is at the 50-yard line. Excalibur did say that in the bill.
It's so weird. Like, okay, I don't know how they're going to do that. Look, we'll see what happens, but I don't like. Okay, conventional wisdom right now, or at least a lot of people are speculating that this is going to be the main event. Do you finish your pay-per-view main event in front of people on a screen?
Yeah, over because it's Daly's place.
Yeah,
and the stadium over there. Maybe not. I would hope that it's not the main event, right? I really hope that you just move Kenny Omega, Pac, and Cassidy that spot so you have. It would be a misfire, like to have it end out there in the. Yeah, where there's unless they just say everybody get up real quick and move to the stadium, which that's there's so many logistical issues here.
They can't do that.
They can't do it. It's not possible.
So I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to go down. Like, I'm very curious to see what the positioning on the card is going to be. Like, if it's midway through the card, we're not. And it all happens, there's a bunch of stuff they pre-shot and it ends on the screen. It's not that big a deal to me. It's like, okay, it's a nice intermission. It's,
the first one was like a half hour long.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You're right. You can't do that with people in the crowd. You can't half hour looking at a screen. So.
Yeah, you can't. You really, not live. They had the luxury last year of doing it in front of no one so they could do whatever they wanted. But, I mean... Then you know what it is? Then it's the the House of Horrors match.
Yeah, that didn't go well.
And and then when they did come back to the ring, it was just complete bullshit. Like the whole thing was bad.
Yeah, just keep it in the house. Don't bring it to the ring. But then I'm supposed to believe Randy Orton ran 10 miles, or Bray Wyatt conveniently lives right by this arena. Come on, man. Come on.
So The stipulation is that the Inner Circle disbands if they lose the match. So who wins, who loses here?
Well, I'm going with the Pinnacle because, to steal my own phrase that I just made up, I think there's some more meat on the Pinnacle bone. I just don't think you put the that's going to be the new catchphrase.
And the Pinnacle is always on top. Don't forget that.
Oh, always on top. Yeah, you don't put this group together to break them up. Well, they're not, their stipulation is they break up, but I don't think you have them lose. I think you continue to build them into the next Inner Circle, right? I think the Inner Circle served its purpose for the first couple years of AEW.
But it's just the Inner Circle that breaks up. The Pinnacle has nothing to lose, really.
But if they lose, it takes a little bit of that luster of that. They just had this awesome blood and guts match. Yeah. And then kind of drive the point home, kind of like you were saying with Brian Cage, like just drive the point home, the Pinnacle, the Inner Circle, and then you can't, it's wrestling, right? The Inner Circle can get back together later. They break up, but it's not going to be like they turned on each other. So they'll still be cool. You can still have cool moments throughout the show, but I'd like to see what, Sammy Guevara can do on his own. And I'd like to see Santana Ortiz get a proper title run without Inner Circle, because I think Pride Powerful, as much as people don't like the name, I think they're fantastic.
Oh, they're amazing. Exactly. We need to get them back to the LAX aggression levels that they had. That's what I'm looking for.
And I think they're getting there. I'm loving the way like Ortiz is holding the mic all upside down and just raw, and I think Jericho needs some time off he's probably going to tour with Fozzy this summer, full crowd. That's always
what we hear.
So you split them up. That doesn't mean they can't get back together. And Stadium Stampede 3, the boys are back in town. You know what I mean? Are you ready for a good time?
I'll tell you what I'm ready for. The Inner Circle breaking up. I think they've run their course. I think I'm a little more severe than you. I think the Inner Circle has run its course. I don't think I think they've been an impediment in many situations. I don't think they're as entertaining as they were from the get-go. And I think it's been holding back guys like Sammy Guevara and Santana and Ortiz. I think the breakup will be beneficial for everyone. I think everyone is smart enough in the room to realize, when I say the room, AEW, I think they were smart enough to realize all of that.
I think Jericho's smart enough to realize.
Oh, for sure.
I have a follow-up to that, though. Did you believe Eric Bischoff when he said that the Inner Circle could surpass the NWO in terms of faction?
I love Eric Bischoff. He's the king of historical revisionism, and then the great thing is like in 10 years after this, when he's doing a podcast, he's talking with Conrad, and Conrad says, "You remember that that time you said that the Inner Circle was going to be better than the NWO? What do you think? Do you think the Inner Circle ended up being better than the NWO?" And then Eric Bischoff will say, "I don't recall saying that."
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about, Eric? It was on TV. Nope, no memory of that. Sorry, can't help you. If I remembered, I could answer, Conrad,
right.
But...
Right. If I said it, what I really was trying to convey was that.
Yeah, exactly. I said they would be better if the NWO came out in 2021. Right, yeah. Okay, Eric, sure.
But yeah, let's break them up. Let's start fresh.
We're done. I think we're done. And the Pinnacle is fantastic. I think it's a great group of guys. No nonsense, all business. MJF not cutting comedy promos, just being snarky, insulting, and aggravating. I love it. I love it from A to Z.
I actually think too the Inner Circle probably would have split up sooner had Sammy Guevara not had that little hiccup back when they
it would have split up earlier?
Because I think that was Sammy's vessel. Like, he was one of the younger, homegrown talents, if you will. I think they were going to build into the next star. Like, it was always MJF, Jungle Boy, Sammy, and Darby, right? Those are the four guys. Right. And I think the Inner Circle was his vehicle to move up into the next level. And I think it just took a little bit more time due to some unfortunate comments that he had made. But here's the chance to, again, start building your next guy.
Sure. I agree with. And I think I think it'll be a good moment to do that. Well, there you have it, folks. We just ran down the entire card. I want to say hello to Jason PS3 and JS Brown, who are in the chat, jumping in as we are about to sign out. And DGMC Mod Extraordinaire says that Eric Bischoff will probably end up blaming it on Meltzer somehow. That's also
Dave Meltzer.
That's another avenue. That's absolutely something. So there you go. Fantastic. Look, went through everything. Your feeling overall, you think it's going to be a good show, a great show, down the road, down the middle? I mean, like, if you were to give you like your final impression, I'm expecting this kind of show.
I always expect AEW to put on good shows, right? I'm always going into it not going, oh man, this is just going to be a bunch of rehashed stuff. So I'm expecting full crowds. I'm really intrigued, right? This is an intriguing show because they are telling us with the paid fans that they've had who we should root for. But now that you're having like fans that have paid, they're going to tell us the stories of what they think, right? So right. I'm excited to see who gets the big pops, and I think they are going to pull out some stops that maybe we're not expecting. Overall, long story shorter answer, I think it's going to be a good show, and I expect it to be a good show, but I always expect AEW to put on a good show. So don't disappoint me on this one, right?
You've been warned.
Yeah, you've been warned.
Oh my God.
Don't disappoint me on the prediction show that I'm on with MrWarrenHayes, okay?
There you go.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. And au contraire, I want to take a moment to thank you, John, for joining me on the prediction show today. This was a lot of fun and some great conversation, good insights. It really was a pleasure to have you. Why don't you let people know where they can find all of your wonderful dealings and whatnots?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Wrestling Plug Inc. Doing my thing there. You can find me contributing at Love Wrestling with the Spencer Love. I do a show with JPJ Thursday nights, 8 or 8:30, depending on what we've got going on after that. It's called Between Two Beards. We shoot the shit, so to speak, and we don't always keep it wrestling centric. I mean, Mr. MrWarrenHayes had popped on and he talked about proper hydration. I know everybody has you come on and talk about wrestling. We wanted to talk about water. So that's where you can find me. And Warren, honestly, man, this has been a pleasure, dude. I'm still shocked that you asked me to do
come
this.
On. This was a lot of fun. Don't stop it.
I know. It was a lot of fun. It was a great time. You're one of my favorite people in the wrestling business, man, and it is an honor to be here.
Well, I'm very happy you accepted the invitation. I'm thrilled that you were able to make time to come on, John. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone who joined us live to watch the show here. If you're still here, give the video a thumbs up. Why don't you? And if you're listening on your own accord, that's fantastic, on your favorite podcast app. Thank you very much. Thank yous all around. That's what we're doing here. Hope everyone has a great Saturday. Enjoy the pay-per-view.
Take your shirt off.